Hello. So in the previous videos, we've looked at finding the area of a triangle using 1/2 base times height. We saw when you're given two sides and an angle, you can use 1/2 the product of the two sides times sine of the angle that's between them. And then there came this time where it became really difficult in order to find the height. Really, really difficult. And that's when you're given three sides. Now you may say that, oh, well, I could just use law of cosines in order to find out the angle. That's just find one of the angles. And you can, and then you can just use the previous one that we did in order to find out what the height is. But this wasn't generally known whenever this issue first came up. The law of cosines wasn't something that was just widely known to everyone, or it might not even use or even defined at that moment. So they ran into this issue, and they were able to solve it actually using algebra. And I won't go to the derivation of it. If you want to, you can ask me to, and I'll be glad to go to that. But they had this issue, and they had trouble. And just like any other time, like if you're in Metropolis and there's trouble, Superman comes in to save you. If you're in Gotham City, Batman comes to save you. If you're in the Marvel universe and you're in Brooklyn or you're in Queens, Spider-Man is going to come to save you. Depends on which version you're in. But anyway, either way, you get a hero. A hero always comes along, and that's what happened in this case. When we couldn't find the area of a triangle when given all three sides, a hero came along, and so therefore this formula is called Hero's formula or Heron. He was Greek, and sometimes when their names ended with an O sound, they added an N, so it was like Heron. So you may see Heron's formula or Hero's formula. But here he is. We had a hero come along in order to give us a way to find the area of a triangle when given all three sides. And his formula says that you define this fourth variable, s. And s is the sum of all three sides divided by 2. So that's the first thing you do. You take all three sides, you add them up, and you divide by 2. Once you have that s, you then can find the area. For the area will be the square root of the product of four things. S times the difference of S and A times the difference of S and B times the difference of S and C. Take the product of all that, take the square root, and then you have the area. Okay. Well, that seems fairly simple. Well, let's look at an actual example, shall we? So let's take three sides, and we'll use one of the most popular triangles that people like to use. And that is actually going to be the 2, 3, 4 triangle. Because you can't do 1, 2, 3. That's not a triangle. No matter how many times you try to make it a triangle, it never will be. But 2, 3, 4 is. So here we are with a triangle with lengths 2, 3, and 4. How do we find the area of it? Well, we can use Hero's formula. So Hero's formula says that we need S. And so S will be the sum of all the sides of the triangle divided by 2. So we're going to do 2 plus 3 plus 4, and we're going to divide that by 2. And 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9, so we get 9 over 2, or 4.5. Okay, well, awesome. Well, now that we have S, how do we find the area? Well, area is equal to the square root of our S times the product of our S minus A, which we'll just say is 2, because that was the first one there, times the product of times the difference of S minus B, our second side, times the difference of S minus C, our third side. It doesn't matter which one you pick for A, B, and C. All three sides are gonna be used, and the same thing's happening to all three sides. So, okay, so when I do that, area is going to equal the square root of the product of 4.5 times 2.5 times 1.5, and then lastly times 0.5. And I'm going to put this in my calculator now. The square root of 4.5 times 2.5 times 1.5 times 0.5. And I'm going to see what I get. You can pause if you want to finish the work along yourself. Okay. And so the area that we get for this figure is actually going to be 2.90 square units. Why is it square units again? Because we're looking for area. So the area of this became 2.90 square units. Some people sometimes are like, I don't know, that seems a little small. Well, let's think about this. Area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. So 1/2 the base would just be 2 off the bat, right? Okay. So our answer needs to be more than 2. Okay. Well, what's the height? We don't know what the height is. But what we do know is if we drew a straight line down to form the height, that would split this into 2 right triangles. And we know that with a right triangle, the hypotenuse must be the longest side. So that means this side has to be less than 2 and also has to be less than 3. Well, just from approximating, we already have 2. We know that this has to be less than that. Then we know our answer has to end up being less than 4, which makes sense because one of our sides is 4. Okay, so this does make sense to be for an answer. All right. So that's Hero's formula. Let's do one more example with it so that we feel confident. And we'll do it this time. Let's do it with an obtuse triangle, shall we? So you can pause. Okay. I'll say that this side is 11, and I'll say that this side is 2, and this side is 3. Okay. So Hero's formula tells us to first find S. So S is going to be the sum of 2 plus 3 plus 11, all divided by 2. And 2 plus 3. And if you want to right now, you can pause and see if you can finish the problem yourself and see what you get, and then come back to check. Okay? All right, so 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 11 will be 16, divided by 2, it was 8. So S is 8. We plug that in here for area, plug it into Hero's formula, we get 8. All right, so we get 8, and we get 8 minus 2, 8 minus 3. Oh, actually, this can't be a triangle, that's why. My mistake. Let's make this actually larger. Let's make this I do want to make that 2 so it looks like simpler. Let's do 7 and 8. Anyway, now it's on. Okay. So let's do that again. S would be 7 plus 8 plus 11 over 2. So I would get 26 over 2, which would be 13. And now let's find the area here. So we get 13, 13 minus 7, 13 minus 8, and 13 minus 11. Now, if you're curious to how I knew that that wouldn't be a triangle we had before, there was an issue. We ended up having a negative inside the square root here, which means it wouldn't exist in what we're looking at. So another thing is that when you add 2 sides of a triangle, it always must be greater than the third side. So 2 plus 3 would not have been greater than 11. So in this instance, though, I get that A would have to be the square root of 13 times 6 times 5 times 2. And let's see what I get when I do that. Square root of 13 times 6 times 5 times 2. Okay, and I get approximately 27.93. And this would also be square units. Okay, so that's area of a triangle using Hero's formula. So given all three sides of a triangle, you still can find the area. You can find S first by taking the sum of all three sides and dividing by 2. And then taking that and substituting into the formula for area. Area equals the square root of that S times the difference of S minus one of the sides times the difference of S minus another side times the difference of S minus the third side. And that's it. I will see you soon.